Well, hello, this is Karin Zoe Lee, and you're listening to Lotus Moon Productions. Welcome to the Wrestling Rants Project. Whatever the promotion, we're here to learn and discuss. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the next 45 minutes of wrestling discussion with your host, Shugo Hanasaki.
Welcome back to the prediction side of LMP Wrestling. It's nice to have an official intro finally. To those of you unaware, Karin Zoe Lee graciously donated her voice to the intros of my podcast. I believe this is the first time I've used it for the wrestling predictions, but thank you once again, Karin, for doing that. To those who want to catch up on our chat, please check the link on SoundCloud under independent music in our playlist section. But getting back to the wrestling discussion, I can't believe it's time to predict another AEW pay-per-view already. It seems All Out was just yesterday and Full Gear hot and ready to go this Saturday, and with my guest and I are ready to predict what will go down. So without further ado, he helped us predict AEW before and he's back to help again. So please help me welcome back Travis. How's it going today?
It's going good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for coming on. It's good to have you back, and it's exciting to predict some AEW Full Gear.
Yay. AEW.
I could just see you waving the little flag. Yay!
If I had one, yes, I would.
There you go. So what do you think of the build-up so far to AEW Full Gear? I think it's been hot as hell.
It has been. I love it. It's just so... It makes you want to continue watching. Like, it ends and you're just like, I want more. I need more. Like, it shouldn't end now.
Yeah. I mean, Saturday is looking super exciting. The Go Home show did exactly what it had to do. All the feuds are red hot and ready to go. And now we have the NWA Championship being defended on the buy-in. If I had it my way, I'd have it on the main card. But what a thing to get people to tune in.
Yeah, really though.
The relationship that they have with the NWA now seems to be flourishing, and I can't wait to see what else comes from it.
Yeah, it's been interesting. As first time I seen it, it's just like where did this come from? And it's just like, but this is awesome. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice that people get to see Serena Deebs. I mean, I know her from a while back, but it's nice to see new people come out like Thunder Rosa as well, and people who aren't familiar with NWA and other AEW fans now get to have exposure to other promotions. So I think they're doing an excellent job by doing it that way.
Yeah, totally.
All right, well, we'll dive into the predictions, and we're going to start from the bottom up, from the pre-show going all the way up to the top. Obviously, we do not know what order the matches will go down, but I've kind of gone from singles match to championship, work our way up. So we're going to start off on the pre-show with the NWA Women's Championship, Serena Deeb versus Allison Kay. Who do you got?
Serena Deeb.
Serena Deeb?
Totally, yes. 100%.
Yeah, I have to go with Serena Deeb in this case too, just because of the fact that
she just got the title.
Yeah, well, not that she just got the title, but I don't think anybody in AEW knows who this woman is on the other side, really. So
yeah,
to keep things fresh and to keep prestige on that title, yeah, Serena Deeb the whole way. But I'm pretty sure it'll be a good match just to bring other viewers in.
Yeah.
So that's an easy one. Serena Deeb it is. All right, well, it was on the pre-show before, but it got moved to the main card, and that is Orange Cassidy versus John Silver in a singles match. Who do you got and why?
I'm going to have to go with Orange Cassidy.
Any reason why?
He's had a lot of, like, ups and downs recently with just with momentum and stuff like that, and I feel like it would make more sense to try and keep pushing him rather than have John Silver win out of nowhere. I haven't really been watching BTE or anything like that, so I don't know if there's anything on there that I'm missing.
It's interesting because the back and forth that they had on the Dynamite Go Home show was intriguing. Orange Cassidy got the upper hand, but then at the end of the show, Orange Cassidy seemed to get the upper hand, and usually the person who gets the last upper hand on the show gets the comeuppance on the pay-per-view, usually in that format. It's a classic format that wrestling has been going by for ages. So I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but booking-wise, yeah, I would want Orange Cassidy to win this. So I think Orange Cassidy is the way to go. Now, this is, I think, the most intriguing match on the card, and putting aside the Kenny Omega versus Hangman Adam Page later on for the number one contendership, because the amount of storyline that is behind that one match. But with this one, if it's a singles match between Chris Jericho and MJF, and if he beats Chris Jericho, he will get to join the Inner Circle. Now, this has a lot of ideas, a lot of rumors, a lot of ways this could go. But who do you think is going to win and why?
I think Chris Jericho is going to win just because I don't see the Inner Circle letting MJF in. I think they're just going to be like, fuck you, and, you know.
Well, yeah, that's one way it could go, and there's many other ways it could go, too, because we could have Chris Jericho win, but then somehow MJF does weasel his way into the Inner Circle. People have thought Chris Jericho might end up going face after all of this, and MJF would kick Chris Jericho out of the Inner Circle. There's talks of Sammy Guevara being kicked out of the Inner Circle. Somehow with a fight, because how close him and Jericho are, but then Jericho stuff over Sammy at times with the whole jacket thing. And the most intriguing thing of all is that I saw last night, and I pointed this out to you, is that Sammy Guevara is not on the Titantron opening theme of the Inner Circle.
Yeah.
That stunned me. I was like, is this the first time that I've noticed that? Or has it always been that way? Like, do you recall not seeing his name there?
Honestly, I've only seen that a couple times. They don't use it often.
That is true. They do not use it very often, which they should use it often. Well, it's very interesting how this is going to go, especially with Chris Jericho's smile at the end of that segment on Dynamite. He was like, there's Killer Instinct. I loved that. I loved when MJF attacked Chris Jericho and he was sitting there smiling. He was like, yeah, that's what I want from you. So it'll be very, very intriguing of what comes from this. But you know what? I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to go Chris Jericho. But I do think somehow MJF and Chris Jericho are not finished, and he will be in the Inner Circle at some point.
Oh, no, I don't think this is finished anytime soon.
All right, moving on to the Elite Deletion match with Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara. Who do you got and why?
I actually have no idea at all. With the Elite Deletion stipulation, whatever that's going to be.
If you're unaware of an Elite Deletion match, I'm pretty sure that this is a cinematic type of match. This is pre-recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, this takes place in the Hardy compound. I know you're unfamiliar with this because you just got into wrestling last year, and Matt Hardy does a lot of these crazy matches. And it takes place at his home.
Okay.
So that they're in their backyard, and these crazy
Matt
like
Hardy, then.
Yeah, these crazy broken Matt Hardy things, and it's like all these crazy things, the mower of lawns, and
I thought he was trying to put that behind himself.
He is, and this is one of the he has multiple personalities as we're supposed to learn.
Yeah.
Freaking wrestling, right? By the way, you're supposed to remember that this wrestler has multiple personalities. Like the amount of crap that comes up in wrestling, I tell you. But it's one of those Elite Deletion matches. It's like a delete. They've had a couple in WWE, and they've had a few in TNA, and I think he may have done one. I think he may have done one in Ring of Honor. I cannot remember, but yeah, it's pretty much an extension of all of those cinematic matches that he's done over the years. All right. So yeah, I think Matt Hardy as well. I can't see Sammy winning this, especially with what happened their last encounter. But I do want this to be the end of their encounter. I want to see Matt Hardy move on to other people. We've been at this Sammy Guevara Matt Hardy thing, I think, almost 4 months. So I'm kind of done with it. I mean, obviously injuries have happened that have extended this rivalry, but I'm pretty much at the end of it. Are you?
Yeah. This started after Matt Hardy hit Sammy with the golf cart, wasn't it?
Yeah, way back. Well,
way back then.
It started with Matt coming out and then targeting Sammy with his broken character, and then even before that, then it ended up in the Stadium Stampede where they all just did a bunch of crap, and the Elite was helping, or Matt Hardy was helping the Elite face the Inner Circle, and then some stuff just snowballed from there. So it's been going for a while.
Yeah. I feel like it is time to move on from that.
Absolutely. All right, so we're both saying Matt Hardy, and now this is the intriguing match of the night with the most background story. Before we enter the 4 championships, the number 1 AEW World Championship contender, the person who will face either Eddie Kingston or Jon Moxley at a further date after Full Gear, will either be Kenny Omega or Hangman Adam Page. How have you liked the build up to this match?
It's been amazing. So amazing. Like, I've loved it so much. We've seen this coming since how long? February?
Oh, yeah, at least, yeah, February, back at Revolution.
Yeah. And it's been amazing. Such an amazing ride with him. And honestly, I am glad they stretched out the build to this for so long. It's going to be so amazing just to finally see it.
Yeah, it will. I mean, the build has been absolutely amazing. The character depth, even with the Young Bucks, like the Young Bucks aren't even part of this match. This is between Kenny Omega and Adam Page with their breakup of the tag team division, and it's been so personal. And you feel for both guys. Like, it doesn't matter if you pick a heel or pick a face. You could say that Adam Page was the heel quite a few times, but then you can also say Kenny Omega was the heel a few times. Like, there's been so much character depth where it's not just a typical baby face and not just a typical heel. It's just the full on storyline personality, and it's who do you want to win?
I want Kenny Omega to win. He's back in singles. They've been building him up, and he wants to go for the championship, and I would love to see it.
Me too. I mean, Kenny Omega being champion, I've been saying this now for months that he would be the guy that would take it off of Jon Moxley. But the question is, where does this leave Adam Page? Because this could really go either way. AEW knows more than anybody else that their audience is expecting Kenny Omega to win this Saturday. Yes. So knowing that, they could go, you know what? We're going to swerve everybody, and Adam Page is going to win. Because Adam Page, remember, fought. He was the first person to face Jericho as that number 1 contender to become the AEW World Champion. He fought Chris Jericho. So he came very close last year to becoming the AEW World Champion, and now he's that close again. So where does this leave Adam Page if he loses? Where does he go? Who does he feud with? Where would you want him to go with?
I have no idea where they'd go with him. Like, if he loses, I have absolutely no idea. And if he wins and goes for the title, and that would be great as well.
I definitely think there's more of a story with like Kenny Omega and Jon, especially their encounter last year.
Yes.
Well, I mean, if Adam Page does lose, and a lot of people, they're not hoping that he loses. They just really want to see Kenny Omega be champion.
Yeah, that's usually the thing. It's not, I want him to lose. It's, I want the other person to win. That's usually how it goes, at least for me.
Yeah, and the best part here about the whole storyline is that we can start having Adam Page go on that self-destruction.
Yes.
Because it's kind of already happened a few times with the Young Bucks, like throwing the alcohol in front of Page's face and them getting into a fight and then the alcohol becoming more of a problem. Like, he could be more self-destructive as I don't know, a character after this match. I mean, we could also eventually see Adam Page go for the TNT championship as well.
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
So who knows where this is going to go, but the general consensus is that we want Kenny Omega to win, and we want Kenny Omega to beat Jon Moxley. So we'll move on to the AEW Tag Team Championship, which also has a lot of background and story behind it, and some crazy stipulations. If the Bucks lose, they can never challenge for the Tag Team Championships again. The Young Bucks versus FTR. Who do you got and why?
I am going to have to say FTR.
Really?
Yes.
Please tell me why.
I'm not sure, but I feel like FTR will probably win this just because of who they are and how much of an asshole they are. To be perfectly honest. But I want the Young Bucks to win. That's who I've picked in my predictions. But I feel like FTR will probably win this.
So, do you think the Young Bucks will never challenge for the tag titles again?
I feel like they'll probably find a way around that.
Of course
I really
they
do. Yeah, of course. But
I mean, Cody Rhodes is not allowed to challenge for the title, but there's another thing there again too, because now Cody is now allowed to use his last name because WWE gave up on the trademark for it, if you didn't know.
finally.
Yeah, so Cody Rhodes is able to go for the AEW championship, but the person named Cody isn't. They could throw a technicality in there that you wouldn't like at all. And the Young Bucks, well, they're not too young anymore. So, I mean, they could just be like, well, the Young Bucks aren't allowed going for the tag team titles anymore, but we're no longer the Young Bucks. We're the Bucks.
We are the old Bucks.
The old Bucks, or just the Bucks, or some sort of name. I don't know. They could pull a technicality, but I think after all this build, I need to see the Young Bucks beat FTR. I need to see it. I mean, just a few months ago, we had FTR as the revival in WWE, and I've been itching for the Young Bucks to become champion since, well, AEW started. I mean, obviously, it would have been bad to put the belts right on them in the beginning, but now I think it's their time. I think they would do great with those belts. I want to see the Young Bucks with the gold.
And that would be really, really, really awesome to see.
And also, if the Young Bucks do win against FTR, FTR is going to be pissed. They're going to want to face them, and this feud will continue. So it's definitely not over. And then, you know what? Honest to God, I'm not a fan of hot potatoing belts, but I think FTR and the Young Bucks going back and forth for like 3 or 4 months, and maybe the titles switch hands a couple of times. If there's two teams in the world that can make the titles mean something in a hot potato situation, it's FTR and the Young Bucks. So I think them going back and forth, you know, if the FTR beats the Young Bucks for the championships, and then like 2 months later, the Young Bucks beats FTR, and then a month later, the FTR gets it back, I think that would be hot as hell.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see.
And meanwhile, while that feud's going on, we have tag teams underneath building up wins, building up ranks. Some, you know, once in a while they challenge the champions, whoever they are, but keep that storyline between FTR and the Young Bucks because people have been wanting this feud for years.
Yes.
All right. Well, we have the AEW Women's Championship that hasn't had that much build to it, unfortunately. Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose, but the promo last night with Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero, that was quite funny.
Yes.
But I still this is an interesting situation because I really do want Hikaru Shida to retain, but I also want the women's division to mean something. And honestly, it's been a year now. The gloves are off. I can't sit here and say that the AEW women's division is on fire because it's just not. It's virtually non-existent half the time, and it's very sad for me to say that.
It's on fire, but not the good kind of fire.
Oh, you don't even know, man. Like I know that you have your problems with WWE, but down in NXT and even the WWE women's division, they have an excellent women's division over there. The characters mean something. You know where things are going. With the women's division in AEW, they've had a whole year and we still don't have solid characters. Like we have our DMD Britt Baker, we have our Nyla Rose, yes, we have Hikaru Shida, but there's no background engagement. Like we know more about Penelope Ford in the last 4 weeks than we do of our own champion.
Yes.
And that's not good.
Honestly, when women's matches come on, I'm just like, oh, great.
Yeah, and that's how it used to be in WWE. The WWE had like 15 years where it was terrible women's wrestling. There was a few good wrestlers that tried to push forward and put on good matches, but for the most part, they were degraded. They're not being degraded in AEW at all, but they need storyline, they need background, they need depth. But putting that all aside, who do you think is going to win the championship, Hikaru Shida or Nyla Rose?
Nyla Rose. I feel like it's time to switch things up again, and unfortunately, there's not many other women's wrestlers around in AEW that are solid. A lot of them are just being jobbed out for Hikaru Shida or Nyla Rose at this point. And I feel like if anything to start pushing the women's division a little bit would be for the title to switch hands and then Nyla Rose and Hikaru Shida to start a bigger feud. Like, start pushing that feud a little bit more. Because there hasn't really been much build to this. I seen the promo last night and it's just like, oh, this is happening.
Yeah. I mean, with Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose, you're right, there hasn't been much build. And I think Nyla Rose would be the best booking decision right now to shake things up because, again, Nyla Rose lost the title. Then she got Vicky Guerrero. Vicky Guerrero was that reason she needed a manager to get the title again. You know, that's what Nyla Rose said, right? She wanted Vicky's help. She needed somebody that would get her to the next level. And if she loses again with Vicky Guerrero's help, it doesn't make Nyla Rose look very good. So I think booking-wise, yeah, Nyla Rose should probably have the title. But I swear, please, AEW, do me a favor, do me a solid, and make that title bigger. That title looks like something a Boy Scout would wear across their chest.
Yes.
Like we gotta make that title look like a freaking title, and I will not stop saying that until that title increases because it needs to be at least close or on par with the championship in the men's, because AEW men's, women's, doesn't matter who they are. It's equal opportunity, and we want those belts to look gorgeous, not small and barely can see from space. But yeah, so I guess we're both agreeing on Nyla Rose here?
Yes.
Now, we have the AEW TNT Championship between Cody Rhodes and Darby Allen. Now, before we dive into the discussion of that match, I do want to make note. Now, you've said that you haven't been able to watch BTE lately?
Yes, I have not been able to.
When's the last time you watched it?
Probably 3-4 weeks ago.
All right, you've missed a lot of juicy shit. One thing was they were having a goof, and Matt got this new phone, and it was a phone from the future for this Halloween episode thing, right? And he was taking pictures, and he took a picture of Nick Jackson, and suddenly Matt could see the future, and Nick Jackson was posing with the TNT Championship.
Okay.
That intrigued me very, very much, especially because if the Bucks lose, they can never challenge for the tag team titles again.
That's interesting.
So why would Nick Jackson go for the TNT Championship, whomever it's on, whether it be on Darby Allen or Cody at the time? But why would, like, unless they're just pulling our leg, right? And they very well could. It's the Bucks, right? They know how to troll better than anybody. So I mean, it just made me think about that, and I'm like, oh, Nick Jackson with the TNT Championship. I mean, he's one of the people who I never thought would go for the TNT Championship because I just want all the other singles guys to. I don't even think it would be a good move to put it on Nick Jackson. So I'm not even sure, but I just wanted to put that note there before we start the discussion, because it could be Darby defending against Nick Jackson at some point. So who do you got? Cody versus Darby Allen.
I have no idea. The TNT champion is just so confusing to follow right now. It's switched hands from Cody to Brody Lee back to Cody, and I don't know if enough, like, he's held it long enough or even developed a feud with Darby Allen to even, fight or even push for the switching of the title.
You bring up a good point, but they've kept Brody Lee off of television for the last 3 weeks.
Yes, I've noticed that.
I'm not sure if that's because of the pandemic, but I'm wondering if he comes in and costs Cody the match.
That could be it.
And not to help Darby Allen, just to piss off Cody.
Yeah. Even to have it as, Darby Allen being an easier opponent in his eyes.
That as well. But I mean, he has beef with Cody, so I figured he would just cost him and leave him with nothing.
Yeah.
And Cody can fight without the title, and then Brody can fight without the title, and then right there we have a personal feud that has a reason to fight.
Yeah, that could be it too.
And it would make sense for Cody to lose the title too, because Cody just got the title back. Yeah, but Brody Lee made sure he didn't have it for very long.
Yeah.
So, I mean, It makes sense for Brody Lee to come in and cost him the title. And frankly, I think I want Darby to win. I really do. I want Darby to have some gold finally. It's been over a year. I want that man to have some gold.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see. He's so destructive. And it's just like, it would be wonderful to see him in more matches due to a title belt.
And he's so over too. The crowd absolutely loves him, regardless how small the crowd is right now at AEW because of restrictions. The internet loves Darby Allen. So I mean, why not, strike now while the kettle's hot?
Yeah, he's he's AEW's bad boy, I guess.
I think that title reserves is Joey Janela.
Oh, yes, true.
Joey Janela might have a couple of words to say about that one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we're both going Darby Allin then?
Yeah. That makes the most sense.
All right. Moving on to the final match of the evening, and that is the AEW World Championship. Jon Moxley versus Eddie Kingston in an I Quit match. Who do you have and why?
I think it's going to be Jon Moxley.
Any particular reason?
One portion is the stipulation, the I Quit match. I don't feel like Jon Moxley will ever say I quit. He would rather die at this point, just for who he is. Same could be said for Eddie Kingston, but I feel like Jon Moxley just has faced like so many people that have almost destroyed him, and he's still been able to fight through it and come out on top. So I feel like he will never say I quit.
I agree. I think Jon Moxley is one of those characters that will never say I quit in whatever situation he puts himself in. There was a couple of characters over in WWE that said that, and John Cena was actually one of them. John Cena is one guy that who has never submitted to this day in any match. He has never said I quit. He has never submitted. He has never tapped out. And I think Jon Moxley is also one of those wrestlers that would continue that type of character. And I'm glad that they've kept that and protected him with that. But Eddie Kingston is, again, one of those hard hitters that won't quit either. I mean, he'd rather pass out and do something than say the words I quit. I think the interesting thing about this match is Pac.
Really?
Yeah, and you're probably wondering, where does Pac come into all this?
I remember Death Triangle.
Yep, and Eddie Kingston is talking to the Lucha Brothers now.
Yes, I see.
Now, we had that promo with Pac last night, and I'm wondering, obviously it came from the other location that he was still in the United Kingdom, but there's been word that not only him, but a couple other people in WWE were able to get in from the UK. So Pac is probably in Florida. That's the rumor. And if he's there and he shows up at Full Gear and he cost Eddie Kingston the title, and Eddie Kingston and Pac get into a feud, that would be great. Because Pac has a reason to be mad at Eddie Kingston, and then Eddie Kingston would, by default, have a reason to get mad at Pac for costing him the title, and then that would also save Eddie Kingston from looking weak because he never said I quit. Pac got involved. But of course, in an I quit match, there's no DQs. Anything goes. The only way you can win is if you make your opponent say the words I quit. There's no, if Eddie Kingston passes out, the match doesn't stop. So this is going to be really interesting to see how far this goes, or maybe if Pac comes in afterwards. But I think we might be getting a future feud between Pac and Eddie Kingston for after Full Gear, because we're going to be wondering, okay, well, if Eddie Kingston does lose, who's he going to feud next with? Well, Pac is sitting right there ready to go, and it makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah.
And it makes all the sense in the world to have Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. There's nothing that makes sense about Adam Page versus Jon Moxley. The only thing that makes sense there is that it's a tournament and that he won and that he earns the shot. Okay, that's great. That's a simple wrestling storyline. But there's too much, there's too many seeds. There's too many. We've planted too many things now to have Adam Page win and then face Jon Moxley, because there's too much things with Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley as well. So we have Eddie Kingston going off against Pac, and then we have Jon Moxley going against Kenny Omega, and I would imagine that would happen at Revolution in February.
Yeah, probably.
All right, well, that is the full card of AEW Full Gear. And with that, we will wrap things up. Thanks to everyone who continually listens to the podcast, and thank you, Travis, for coming on here once again.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. And if you want to hear your voice on here as well, simply send me a PM on any of my social media. You can find all of our socials at SoundCloud under Lotus Moon Productions, Facebook under Lotus Moon Productions, Twitter under Lotus Moon Prod, Lotus M Productions on Instagram, and you can search us on YouTube under Lotus Moon Productions. Do not forget to check out my co-host James's Twitter account too at LMP_Jam. He could not be with us this weekend for personal reasons, but he hopefully will be back by next week. So with that, this has been LMP Wrestling, and we are signing off.